Hi.
Hello,
Hello, everyone. Hi. Hey, Kim. How's it going?
great. So excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're sitting here backstage looking at everyone waiting and seeing you all in chat. So if you're here now live with us, we'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. And we'd love to know if you already have a Glowforge or if you're another kind of crafter or a small business owner. We want to hear what you're here to learn. And so let us know in chat, and we're keeping an eye on that. Let's see, making sure everything is going live. Great, it is. Well, I'm Bailey from Glowforge. If you've tuned in before, you might have seen me on these live streams or on our Instagram, or I'm all over the place. I've been at Glowforge for almost 10 years now. And one of the coolest things has been seeing people get a Glowforge and then start or scale the business that they've been dreaming of running. And I've seen people run incredible side hustles or just go full time with it. And so we invited Kim here today to talk about one aspect of having a creative business, and that's strategic planning for seasonal content. If you are familiar with Kim, she's Sweet Red Poppy on Instagram. If you take a look at her or on all the things, but if you take a look at any of her platforms, you can tell she is on trend, on point, and it's not by accident. And she makes it look easy, but so Kim, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Let me tell you. Okay, we were actually chatting before this about how long I've been doing Sweet Red Poppy for, and I was clueless. So I've been doing this for 8.5 years. We were thinking it was 10, but not quite.
Well, okay, we're a year off.
I started 8.5 years ago. I started Sweet Red Poppy. It actually started out as a sewing blog. It was just like a fun little space to share what I was doing. And then quickly started having people asking for tutorials. And so it just turned into a tutorial-based website. And then, all the social media platforms, we have learned those and adapted. And then a few years ago, well, I think I have had my eye on Glowforge since it first started. It was always like a dream. Like, I have to have one of these. And then we finally partnered a few years ago. And that's been so fun. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kim works across all different sorts of crafting mediums, but she has a couple different Glowforges. I think we first worked together on the launch of our Craft Laser Glowforge Aura, but that's the Glowforge Pro here that we'll be talking about today. That's what most people use. Yeah, there's the Aura. It's so cute. So most people that have a business do tend to go for the Pro since it's faster and larger, so you can make more things if you're going for that time per piece, the ROI there. I did want to mention before we get started, if you are here and you don't yet have a Glowforge, keep your eye on your email after this stream. I just found out about this. We've been working on it kind of behind the scenes, but we have a really special offer that we've not done before. And so we will be sending that to you afterwards. It's going to be, I believe, for any of the Glowforge printers. Again, the focus of this conversation today is mostly going to be around Glowforge Pro, because that's what Kim uses for most of her business endeavors. But we're excited to help all of you get started on your journeys. So we also have, before we get started, a giveaway today. It's a $250 Glowforge gift card. So we'll work for designs or proof grade materials, or it can be applied towards a printer if you're getting your first Glowforge. So to enter for that, there's a Google form. Very fancy, we know. We'll put it in chat, and it'll probably be pinned to the top of chat, and just make sure you get entered in it sometime during the live, and we will email you this evening when you win. So I thought it would be fun to get to know Kim. I know her pretty well because we've been working together for a few years. We've even met in person. We did an event together in New York City a couple of years ago, which was really cool. But I want to make sure everybody gets to get a vibe for her style and everything. So I thought a this or that crafting edition would be a great way to do so. I'd love for you in chat to chime in with your answers to this or that. So Kim, this or that. Bright and bold colors or neutral and minimalist tones? I mean, we can kind of see.
As evidence behind me, I am definitely a bright and bold colors, rainbows, all the fun, bright stuff. Yeah, definitely. Anything with bright colors.
That's an easy one. Me too. I mean, I did paint this on my wall promptly after moving in. It was way too white back there. So no sad gray millennial vibes for me.
I love that aesthetic for other people, and I think it's so gorgeous. But for me, it's definitely, I want to be inspired by my surroundings and I want all the color. It just makes me feel happy.
Yes. Okay. This or that DIY decor or DIY decor or wearable crafts.
Ooh. Ooh, that's a hard one, Bailey. I
Yeah.
love both. So my background is actually in like apparel design and pattern making. And so
Great.
love sewing things for myself, for my kids. But then I also love like big DIY projects. So I would have to say both. That's hard.
Well, there's no this or that. Paper crafting or woodworking.
Oh, that's another hard one.
See you with those power tools sometimes.
I love power tools. I just recently, probably in the last year, got into power tools because I was
Yeah.
too afraid before that. I was like, oh, I can't do that. I craft more on a small scale, usually like sewing and Cricut and smaller paper crafts. But then I got some tools and game changer. I
Yeah.
love projects now. Mm-hmm.
All right. Seasonal themes or year-round evergreen projects.
Oh, yeah, both again. I love anything like when it's July through December is Christmas. That is just for me all about
You're one
Christmas.
of those people.
Other than
Is
that,
your
I'm
tree
probably
up
like,
before Halloween?
I think my 12-year or 12-month calendar looks like spring, Christmas. So,
Hey, I mean,
celebrating that it's warm, and then I'm all in on Christmas.
and we'll get into this, but I mean, that is how the retail beats practically work. So, yeah. Do you like following trends or setting your own style?
Oh, I would say a little bit of both again. So I'm not giving you very many this or that.
That's okay.
I love to see a little bit of inspiration of what's trending and then take that and turn it into my own project, like throw in my own colors, throw in my own vibe, just really make it my own.
Do you like big statement pieces or small, delicate details?
Both. Yes. I like a big statement piece. So right now I'm working on like I have these giant bows and these giant flowers, but I'm also all about if you're going to do something that's huge and big, it needs details to balance it to really make it look pretty.
Yeah. And working in silence or crafting with music or podcasts?
Ooh. I would say for the most part, I like silence just because I feel like that gives you the opportunity to have those creative thoughts just ruminating in your mind. So a lot of times I will force myself to work in silence just so I can force my brain to work through problems and to like imagine creative solutions to them.
That's a really good tip, honestly, because I'm always like listening to some audiobook about dragons or something. I'm not.
You know how you always have like all those ideas. You're laying in bed and suddenly you have like 5 million things. You're like, I have to do this. I have to do that. I
Yep.
have to do that. You have that same experience if you force yourself to craft. You have like all this stuff that comes in that you're like, oh, if I don't have any external input, then I have time to think and like come up with new ideas.
What a concept, being comfortable with silence. It's a good
I'm gonna go
takeaway.
to therapy to get comfortable with silence, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, okay. Selling physical products or creating tutorials and digital downloads?
I am more on the digital download side. I love to create products to help other people if they have something that they want to do. I love finding a problem and solving that. So
Yeah.
all on the digital side.
Sometimes the problem is we need the backyard to look like a fairy princess party or something, right?
That is
Love
my
what
8-year-old's
you do.
problem. Yes.
And the last one is planned and organized or creative chaos.
A little bit of both. I live and die by my planner, but also a little bit of creative chaos is nice. And I am the messiest crafter you will ever meet. I'm like type A, but sometimes type B. So a little bit of both.
Love it. So on that topic that we were just mentioning, selling physical products or creating tutorials and digital downloads, there's so many different ways that you can kind of be a crafter, work with a Glowforge, work with whatever crafting tools that you're into. So selling at markets is something I know many of you do and will apply to this conversation. Selling those digital files and tutorials, brand collaborations like this one. Kim does those sometimes. And then content creation. So, but I was surprised to learn, I didn't realize Kim's biggest part of her business is her tutorials and designs. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
digital.
lots of, and sometimes the business goes in different directions than you expect. You might start with one of those things and end up in another one of those avenues, or you might specialize in doing people's custom parties, or some niche aspect of one of those. So, well, we will get started with the Q&A, and I did want to mention, if you in the audience, I'm going to pop over to chat. I haven't looking. Oh, you all have been answering
Oh,
this or
yeah.
that.
Everyone's chance.
Awesome. If you have questions for Kim, I can ask her live. If you go ahead and put them in the chat, I will be keeping an eye on it, and our chatters in the background can let me know too. All right. So to get started, Kim, you have basically, I would say, taking a glance at your socials and your online presence, it looks like you've built a career around seasonal crafting. You're just saying you kind of think in spring and Christmas. And so when do you start thinking about your next season's content?
So I am usually about 6 months in advance. I'm planning things out, and we actually have some really great downloads that will help you with all of this because I love to plan. So
Yeah.
make sure that you get those downloads. I think we'll drop some links in the chat so you can make sure you get those. But typically, I'm thinking at the very least 1 quarter ahead, and at the most like about 6 months ahead.
Yeah, it always feels like I'm so behind. I'll walk into, a grocery store and they'll have, I mean, it feels like right now I could walk in and see 4th of July. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. It's March for the record, but yeah, I mean, it's never too early. And especially when some seasons are, I think, bigger than others too. Some need more prep, of course, like the holidays. People do all their shopping, by mid-November a lot of times now. So you have to really get ahead of it depending on where you're selling and what you're doing.
Definitely. I
What
sometimes laugh with my kiddos because it feels like we live in this alternate reality where we're always celebrating every holiday 2 or 3 months in advance. And then when it actually comes around, I'm like, oh, it's Christmas. we
no
did
Christmas,
that a few
no
months ago.
Christmas. What is your first step when you're planning the seasonal projects? If you're saying, okay, I got to think of Q2 or Q3, what's in it? Where do you go to wrap your brain around what you'll do?
Yeah, so we were actually discussing this earlier, and there's a few different things that I like to do. And Bailey, you had a few as well, which I thought was fun. We both agreed. We both go to Pinterest Predicts. That is a really nice, I don't know, collaboration that they've created where they
So
go,
cool.
and it's analytics based too, which I really appreciate because I
Yes.
am all about analytics with my website because that is the most important thing that I base everything off of.
Data, we love it.
Yep. And so they will take like, what are these keywords that are trending? What are searches that we're seeing more and more? And then give you like a little graph and a chart and show you this is what we think is going to trend this next year. So I always look forward to that. And I think it comes out like in January. And that is amazing. Always pay attention to that. It just gives you some fun ideas. And also, they have such a wide variety of different styles and aesthetics that they share that I feel like you can always find something that fits within your niche. So that one's great. Let's see. We also talked about scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through TikTok, seeing what's new and up and coming, but also never copying what you see, just like taking that as inspiration and then taking it back and saying, how can I make this my own? How can I incorporate my own color palettes and my style so that it really feels unique?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Pinterest Predicts thing, I believe you can just sign up for it from maybe you just get it with your Pinterest account. But I'm not sure, but it is really worth getting. It's a downloadable PDF and we love it. We always share it in Slack, and I remember there was like grandpa core or something last year.
Yeah.
So funny. Or like mushrooms, and you'll be like, I have seen those everywhere, seen that everywhere, and it's coming. So what
And I
do you
really
think
love the analytics behind it because it's just so fun.
What do you think is a mistake that makers tend to make when it comes to seasonal planning?
I think waiting too long or just not planning ahead. Again, we just got a link in the chat for that download. It's the seasonal selling guide. It is amazing because it will help you plan everything out, like down to all of the smallest details.
Yeah, Kim has them like printed out right there, right?
I'm like, can I find the one that I filled out? Let's see. But what I see the most often is just like people are waiting too long and then they don't have enough time to sell. They don't have enough time for the creation process, for planning, for ordering supplies. So
Yep.
staying ahead of schedule and really making sure that you know what's coming and that you're ready for it.
Do you ever, on that note that you were saying a minute ago, like making sure that you're not just copying and you're being inspired by the data or what you see around you, but making things on your own that feel your own. Do you sometimes like feel pressure to chase a trend that you're like, this is disco balls, not a good example because disco balls are awesome, but pretend for a moment that we were not into disco balls. I've got like literally a garland of them up on my desk.
They're all around me. So,
well, those are like, so imagine if that was just not your thing. And do you sometimes feel pressure to chase it? And how do you decide if that's just something that's not going to work with your brand or just something you're not excited about, even if it's huge?
That's a great question because, okay, I've been doing this for 8.5 years and I have definitely made the mistake of falling into just like doing what's trending just because it's trending or it's working well for someone else instead of just being true to like who I am, what I love, what my brand represents. And I feel like it just doesn't resonate with your audience when it isn't true to who you are. I think that people will feel the energy and the excitement that you have about a product or a launch based on like how true it is to you. So
Yeah.
I fell into like, oh, I'm too colorful. I felt like for a while, like I'm too much. I gotta scale back. I gotta be more beige. I gotta pull in black and white. And it just isn't me. I'm all the rainbows and the happy colors, and I have to be true to that.
I love it. Yeah, and I mean, it feels like all of a sudden, oh, what I was doing isn't cool anymore. But you've stuck by that aspect of your brand, but a lot of other aspects of your brand too, like the femininity and just the
Mhm.
playfulness and the fun shapes and colors and everything. So, and then that outlasts all the trends, and you're able to just
Mhm.
apply it to kind of everything. I always love when I come to Kim with a collaboration and I'm like, can't wait to see what she does with this because it'll be like a blank thing and it'll be pink and sparkly and amazing by the time she's done with it.
Your emails to me, they're like, "Oh, I love the bows." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always gonna have bows." I'm
Oh,
sorry.
are there any under the radar? I mean, there's obvious ones that we think of like Christmas, like Valentine's Day, maybe St. Patrick's Day, kind of the big themey holidays. But are there any kind of like under the radar seasonal moments that you think makers should pay more attention to because they could capture people's interests and sell, or just make really shareable content around a fun holiday or something?
Oh, definitely. So right now we're in March. It is National Crafting Month, which is a great time to be sharing about all of that. It's also Women's History Month, so that's another fun one. If I'm ever feeling like I don't know what to do or I'm feeling uninspired, a lot of times I will just get on Google and
Yeah.
search what are the upcoming holidays, not like the normal ones that we all know of, but what are the ones that we don't always think of? Like maybe Donut Day is coming up. Maybe it's pizza, just random ones that are kind of fun that you can work with that might inspire you.
Yeah. Those are always the funky ones too. I'm just like, oh, pizza earrings, pizza tic-tac-toe, so many places you could take it. Um, at what point did you realize that crafting could kind of be a career for you? Like what's the version of that? What did that look like for you?
So mine might be a little bit different than other people just because I'm more in the influencer realm.
Mhm.
Um, but it was I started, let's see. I did start out with physical products, and then quickly realized for the space that I was in, I was sewing. There was only so much that I could do, so many hours a day that I could sew, and only so much money I could make. So I started to pivot more into creating those digital products. And for me, that was tutorials at first. And then realizing people only have a limited amount of time and they don't always have time to research everything and then try out all of these different options and fail and try and fail and over, right? I really love that process. Like I love a good deep dive. I love to find out the best way to do something and then teach that to other people. So I started writing tutorials and that's when I figured out I could actually make money doing that. When I started getting a lot of blog traffic and realizing, wow, this is something that people really need.
And you started out originally as a blog, and then, like you said, as the different social media platforms, because obviously 8.5 years ago, we didn't have well, wait, we had Instagram, right?
We had Instagram when I started. We had Facebook, but it was before video. So I think it was like 1 or 2 years in that video started to be a thing. And I jumped on video before most creators were getting into video. And I taught myself how to do videography, and it was a whole process. Because that was before you could just like whip out your iPhone and just take a video of something. Like you had to have a DSLR. So learned all of that. And that was fun. I honestly just love learning new things. So anytime I can learn, I'm excited.
On that note, could we see what you've done with some of the planning sheets that we have? So if you look, if you're here, you probably already did this, but if you happened on this live stream a different way and you want these resources, make sure that you go to glowforge.com/daydream to dream job. And it's also on a Chiron running below us. They're really going to know this URL, but that's where you get this download. So this is, it's got a couple different things, and it has one page that Kim created for us, which is kind of some of her top seasonal projects, which we'll talk through in a minute. But it also has some like worksheets, more interactive pages. And I wanted to see maybe how someone like Kim would fill that out.
Bailey, I'm trying to find the ones I filled out, but I must have set them somewhere else. But I will show you.
No problem.
Okay. Let's see. We have this seasonal planning worksheet. And I love this because it really takes you through all of the things you need to think through. So we have what your product is, what holiday or season it's geared towards, what materials you'll need. But what I love is this. We have like an estimated production time. We have cost, target price. But then when do you need to order your materials by? Because that's really important. You can't just start on it unless you've done that. When does your marketing need to happen? When does your photography need to be complete by? So this is so helpful for that planning. And I have used that on some of these projects behind me too. So we'll get into that as well.
Another thing that I don't think we touched on, but I feel like I always want to bring up in for laser audiences is with planning is the ability to like batch, if you are selling physical items, the ability to use your Glowforge to batch and create a whole bunch of blanks well in advance. And then as the season gets closer, like imagine that you're selling some sort of very on trend ornament, this October, November, December, and they're all customized. So you could spend the summer making hundreds of blanks, and then you could fill them in with the customized names or whatever it is when you get those orders rolling in. When people are, because your customers aren't thinking quite as far in advance as you are. And I think that the packet that the download also has like a calendar basically to tell you when you should start planning for each season and holiday. So you can literally put that into, I would also recommend using some kind of, yes, exactly.
It's so helpful.
You could literally put this into whatever project management tools you use, which those can be whatever, like even if that's the calendar on your phone, if you use some kind of like software like Asana, or you just use, your Gmail calendars and reminders, like you could block out, planning for this holiday needs to start this week, like spend an hour this afternoon coming up with 3 product concepts for spring. And then you get started. So when you start a brand new project, Kim, like if you're concepting like a new design for Halloween or something like that, do you usually try making it several different ways until you kind of land on like if you have, you're making a new mini haunted house, like do you try it in several different colors and materials and paint it different ways, or do you come in with a pretty like distinct vision already?
Okay, so I can't visualize things in my head.
What?
Isn't that weird?
Creative. That's
I know.
crazy.
People are always surprised by it. So I have aphantasia, and it's like the lack of visualizing things. So if I like close my eyes and try to visualize, it's just blank. I can feel things, but I can't see anything. So actually, I do have to go through quite a process because I can't see things in my brain. So I have a lot of like little hacks that I use to get around that. So like, okay. For instance, I did this huge Walmart Nutcracker project. I cut it out on my Glowforge well in advance because I wanted to mock it up and be able to say, like, what is it actually going to look like? Because I can't visualize it. I wish that I could, and some people have that ability, and they're amazing at that. but I don't. So I am very much like a physical, I have to make it multiple different ways. I want to see variations. How could I change this? How could I make it better? What do the colors look like? Yeah,
That
I'm
is so
absolutely.
interesting to hear about you because I always think, oh, I love this whatever it is that someone made, and I could have never thought of that, and all I want to make is that and just copy it, because I can't think but then sometimes I can come up with my own thing, but it's always inspired by something else. And I'm like amazed with people who can come up with something completely original, but your stuff seems so unique to you. So the fact that you just go about that in a different way that works for your brain is so fascinating. It's like we're all creative just in different ways.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
think the creative process, like seeing other people's creative process is so interesting just because we all overcome these different obstacles in different ways.
Okay, so I want to go back to the Nutcracker project.
Mhm.
And Michelle, who's in the background in chat helping out, would you be able to help us bring up the page of the download so we can look a little bit closer at Kim's crafts? If you can, let's do that. But so the Walmart Nutcracker that Kim is talking about, if you follow Kim on her platforms, like in November, December, it was so funny. I'd be like going on Instagram and she'd be posting the link to Walmart to see,
Daily update.
like, see if the giant Nutcracker is in stock near you. And this actually wasn't like a partnership with Walmart. She just like clued into these amazing nutcrackers. They're plastic mold nutcrackers. They're
Mhm.
probably like 4 feet tall or something like that. And the one I ended up getting one. I didn't get the white one though. So mine is painted by Walmart, but it's already kind of like peeling. So I think I'm going to end up painting my own pretty soon. But tell us more about like when you first saw that and decided to do it.
Okay, so I saw it the year before and I tried to get my hands on it, but could never find it in stock. And so I started the next year really early on in the season, just every day refreshing the page to see if I could find it. But again, like the way that I had seen it done was very traditional Christmas colors.
Mhm.
And I love traditional Christmas colors, but it doesn't completely fit with like the vibe of Sweet Red Poppy. So
Right.
I did reimagine like how could I make this fit more of my aesthetic? Um, and that this was such a fun.
There it
Oh
is.
yeah, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it might be a little bit small, but this was a fun project because I will say typically in my content creation, I'm very much like, let me do the whole project and then present it to you. And what I found with this was I took my audience along with me on the experience of like, let's try to source the product that we need. Let's source the paint that we need. Let's test out all of these different gold paints. Like, which one is the best? Give me feedback. What are you trying? What are you doing? Where are you having luck?
Totally. I remember you doing that. And I remember you were also trying to make like an ornament out of a rubber ball that did not work. Remember that?
No,
No, I don't think that did
no,
not happen.
I don't think that happened actually.
Yeah.
but
Look
it
how
was
gorgeous
really
that is.
fun.
See,
It was
mine is
really
still the traditional Christmas colors, but I'm ready. I don't know if that I'll do pink, but I have kind of a sage green, black and white cabin farmhouse theme in my house. So I kind of want to make him sage green. So I might paint mine this year. I'm inspired.
oh,
But it looked like quite an undertaking.
yeah, it was. But I think the lesson that I learned was that okay, I don't like to be very vulnerable on social media. I like to like, here's my polished piece that is
Yeah,
presented to
it's
you all
perfect.
finished. But I found that my audience resonated so much more with the creative process than they did with just presenting them with the finished product. So in your business, if you are creating things, how can you bring your audience in so that they feel like they're a part of what you're making? Let them give feedback on what they think. Let them be a part of it and tell you all their thoughts because that is really going to get people rooting for you. And then when you finally do post it, they're like, oh, we've been watching this. We're so excited to see it finally be live. I think that was a good lesson for me. Even though I've been doing this for a long time, it was a good lesson. Like, let people see the failures that you have. It's okay to fail in front of everyone, and then show them that you can figure out a different way to go about it.
Why did you Why did you do that? Like, well, I mean, you didn't maybe know you didn't know how many failures there would be. Did you expect to just show like a really smooth process of like easily painting the giant Nutcracker? Or like, were you just like, let's try this out and see if people like a behind the scenes vibe, or what was it?
It was my husband. My husband is always like, hey, you need to show people what the experience is. Like, they will resonate with that. And I'm always like, oh, what if they see me fail and they don't think I'm good at it? And so he was like, let them in, let them see what you're doing, take a video each day and upload it. And so I did. It was a whole process, but it was really fun because I got to connect with everyone in a different way than I normally do. And so I really enjoyed that.
And what months were you posting this in? Was it in like October and November? It was ahead of what I would consider like consumer Christmas season for sure.
We started probably, September.
Yeah.
October. I mean, it was fairly early, but if you are doing projects for Christmas, it does need to be pretty early that you get a head start. Like that tree in the background was a sponsored promotion with an adhesive company. And I started that. I think I put my Christmas tree up in July. My name is a little cuckoo, but little
cuckoo. Oh my gosh.
My light is like illuminating the front of our house every night in July.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I could never. My main holiday is Halloween. So I got to give that its month and then I can go into Christmas. Let's see. Can we look at another couple things on this PDF? Maybe zoom out and see what else is on here. So yeah, these are just some of your favorite. Okay, that giant bow. Like, how big is that? There's no Kim for scale on that bow, but it's huge, right?
Yeah, it is for that one. Okay, that one's actually my smaller one, but the one that I started, that's the baby one. The one I started with, I think I'm looking at it right now, 6-7 feet tall and 4 or 5 feet across. And it was an undertaking. And there were a lot of failures on that too. That was something that I didn't know how to do. And I included my audience in like, hey, what do you think's the best way to do this?
It has cool noodles in it, right? That's what
it has foam backing rods like you would put for insulation. It was a really fun project.
And then the other one, I know you have maybe a mini version of this around, is this giant butterflies. So this was for, I think, your daughter's birthday party. Oh, it's just right below there. Giant wooden butterfly.
You can see.
Isn't that incredible?
It was so fun. That was one of my first projects with like my power tools that I was afraid of. I definitely thought like, oh, I can't do this. I'm not brave enough. I'm too girly.
I saw that you cut the butterfly out with. So that was not, this to be clear, is not a Glowforge project, but this mini one.
I was nervous about like, how does this pattern look? Is it going to work out? And so I did use my Glowforge to make a mini scale of it and just ensure that I liked the way it looked. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to see, but
look how cool.
I everything else out first and just like mocked it up to make sure I wasn't committing to an expensive project without doing my research beforehand. So
I'm really appreciating this comment. I just popped into the chat to see Halloween is a lifestyle, not a holiday. It is true. And I have a couple pieces that I keep up year round. Like I've got this Frankenstein thing in my bathroom that like holds Q-tips and it is pink. So that kind of like it fits in with the rest of the bathroom. And we have a Camp Crystal Lake sign up because we kind of have a camp woods theme to our house and that's up year round. It's like just some subtle Halloween. That's my brand. That is so amazing though. I love the idea of being able to use Glowforge to prototype something and make sure that you like how it looks before you commit to the bigger piece of material. Because obviously, was the big one made of really thick wood, right? It's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was 5 feet tall, 5-6 feet. It's bigger than me. Yeah, 6 feet. So it is really nice. No, I absolutely love using my Glowforge to create like smaller scaled products before I go big. Again, because I can't visualize them. I wish I could, but I have to see it. I have to like physically touch it and interact with it. And then I can go, oh, like I don't like this cut line here. And oh, I can adjust this and this needs to be bigger. That needs to be smaller.
Prototyping just in mini.
Yes.
All right. Well, those are most of the questions we have for you. I do want to make sure everybody has a chance to enter the giveaway. So it's a giveaway for a $250 Glowforge gift card. You can get Proofgrade or designs or what have you. We also have an offer for those of you that don't have a Glowforge printer yet. We have a really special offer we've been working on behind the scenes. You will get it in your inbox this afternoon, probably pretty soon after this live stream ends. We will hit send. So keep your eye out for that. And are there any other questions? Last call for Q&A. I'm looking in the chat to see if we have anything. I did have a couple extra down here. Oh, I wanted to know if you had any trends that you predicted early that ended up taking off last year or the last couple years, or if you have any for this year. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want to let us in on this year.
No.
Yeah.
Last year was definitely the bows. I jumped on the giant bow trend before it blew up, and I got a blog post out well in advance of that. And that has been one of my most visited pages on the website. So I was really glad that I got ahead of that and that I gave it my own spin so it feels like Sweet Red Poppy.
Yeah. Bows. So cute.
Let's see. Oh, there's a question.
Someone's asking, what's the most challenging thing you've done with the Glowforge?
With the Glowforge. Ooh, I think it was probably one of my very first projects with my Aura. And it was let me think. It was the Halloween, do you remember that Halloween countdown board I made?
Yes.
I don't know what I was thinking as my very first project. I wish we could show it. But that was probably one of the more challenging ones, just because there was a lot of like iterations and trying to figure out how to make it work and the scale and just testing everything else out.
That is funny. Yeah. You were like, oh yeah, that'll be so easy and quick and cute. And then, but I bet you got to know it so well from that project. So sometimes that's all it takes is one big project. I was seeing a question about venting. Can you use a Glowforge without venting it? So both of our units both of our series of lasers. We have the Craft series and the Performance series. They both have air filter units that are available. So for Performance, it's called the Performance air filter, and for the Craft, it's called the Craft laser filter. And so if you are in a room with a window, you can just vent it out the window. Like there's a dryer hose that comes out the back, stick it out. That's what I do. But if you aren't able to vent it, you are going to want to use one of those air filters. No matter what material you're using, you will need that. And someone's asking, is there a machine that would cut thin metal? Those are going to be more higher powered, like fiber lasers. Like ours are CO2 lasers. The Glowforge Pro and Plus are CO2 lasers, and the Aura and Spark are diode lasers. So not thin metal. You are able to engrave on some metals, especially there's different engrave effects you can get depending on if you do a different spray over it, use different sorts of treatments. So you can look on our forum for that of engraving metal with Glowforge, but not cutting. And let's see. People are talking about upgrading from the Aura to a performance laser. Yeah, lots of exciting things.
And we have a good link. If you do want to talk to the Glowforge sales teams, make sure to click that link. There's a great offer if you click that specific link. So if you're interested, go ahead and set up a meeting with them.
Yeah, they are able to talk with you about specific use case. You know, if you're like, I think I want a Glowforge, but I'm not really sure if it can do this or that, they'll be able to talk with you through that, so you can feel confident about getting started. Because we know it's a big thing, but it's been such a life-changing experience for so many people, and now you know how to plan your whole year, so you're set. Well, thanks so much, Kim. This was really fun.
Oh no, thank you for having me, Bailey. I always love getting to chat with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you on the internet, and have a happy first day of spring. Bye, everyone.
Bye.